Hey everyone, how's it going? Let's talk about my November wrap up. I read 5 books in the month of November, and the first one I'm going to be talking about is a fantasy romance, and that is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This one follows Araya. She is the adopted human daughter of the Night King, and she has a lot to prove to other people, to herself, to society. She needs to prove that she's more than just the adopted human daughter of the Night King, and that she's more than prey and food for these vampires. To do so, she enters this legendary tournament hosted by the goddess of death herself, and the tournament is called the Kajari. The Kajari is very, very dangerous. And there she meets Rain, and she makes an alliance with him. But as soon as she meets Rain, she realizes that he is actually quite dangerous, and he's a very efficient killer, and to pretty much keep away from him. But that doesn't happen because they end up forming an allyship, they end up forming an alliance together, and they also have a slow burn romance going for them as well. I actually really enjoyed this one quite a bit. I was really surprised about it, and a good thing I enjoy it because this one is a bit of a special edition, and I'm going to be collecting all of the books in the series in these special editions because why not? And there is more plot-wise going for this book other than just following these people in the tournament. There is a lot of political intrigue going on in the background with the warring houses, like the warring vampire houses. The tournament itself was incredibly intriguing, incredibly unique, following the life and death of this goddess. It was absolutely fascinating and was really unique. And it added like a nice background, a nice history to the world, to the gods and goddesses in this world. The two men that we follow, apart from, well, the two men whose relationship with Araya that we explore, Rain and the Night King, I felt duped by them both. They both had complex relationships with Araya, especially between Araya and her father, the Nightborn King. My god, that book is heavy. I actually really love the relationship between Araya and the Nightborn King more than I did with Araya and Rain. It was such a complex relationship, Araya and her father. It was really, really good. And I really love complex relationships like that. It just keeps some sort of intrigue with the characters going and the dynamics between them. The ending of this book did feel a little bit typical to some of the fantasy romances or romantasy books I have read. It is not a lot, but to some of them I have read, it does feel a little bit typical. And I don't know what's going to happen because even though the ending of this did feel a little bit typical, it did have its own uniqueness where it could stand on its own, and I don't know what's going to be happening with the relationship between Araya and Rain. It just seems like I'm hoping with the second book that there is going to be a lot more political intrigue, because I don't really have high hopes for both of them with their relationship. I really don't. And the second book is a little bit bigger than this one as well, so knowing that, I'm hoping there is going to be a little bit more politically going on. It points to that, it really does. And with the romance, right, between Araya and Rain, it was fine. It was fine. It wasn't the best I read, but I didn't hate it either. I think because it's a slow burn and because of how the first one ended and my worry about their relationship in the second one, we really didn't get to spend too much time with them as a couple. We got to see them build some sort of relationship through like them being allies and stuff like that. Slowly seeing them start to develop a little bit of feelings for each other. It was good. I just feel like if I needed a little bit more, but being slow burn, that's okay. Being slow burn, I feel like you need that time to develop the relationship a little bit, but there were actually some moments that had me a little bit giddy, and I was like, oh my gosh, and had me kicking my feet and all that kind of stuff, just with some things that they didn't realize that they said aloud. Like, oh, did I really say that out loud? Oh, yes you did, buddy, yes you did. And that really had my feet kicking in the air. I was like squealing with joy whenever they said something that they didn't realize they said. I loved it, I ate it up. Oh, I forgot to tell you my rating. I gave this one a 4 stars out of 5. The third book I read, which is the third book in a series, is Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret by Benjamin Stevenson. the third book in the Ernest Cunningham series. It is a bit of a smaller one. Me trying to summarize this, I don't think I could do a good job. So, Ernest Cunningham is back, a suspect covered in blood without a memory of how it got there, a murder committed without setting foot inside the room where it happened, the world's most deadly paper cut, an advent calendar because, you know, it's Christmas. And on the inside flap, unwrap all the Christmas staples, presents, family, an impossible murder or two, and a deadly advent calendar of clues. I'd hoped that any self-respecting murderer would take it easy over the Christmas holidays. I was wrong. So here I am backstage at the show of world-famous magician Rylan Blaze, whose benefactor has just been murdered. My suspects are all professional tricksters, masters of the art of misdirection. The magician, the assistant, the executive, the hypnotist, the twin, the counselor, the stagehand. If I can see through the illusions, I know I can solve it. After all, a good murder is just like a magic trick, isn't it? Woohoo, yes it is. Yes it is. Being the third book in a series, I'm really struggling to talk about it. One, it's small and I don't want to spoil it. And two, it's a thriller and I feel like thrillers are hard enough to talk about as it is without spoiling things. The murder was absolutely unique and it definitely did feel magical with it being a part of a magic show. It just seems like with this book having a magician show background to it, it does feel like a lot more research and thought has been put into it. Ernest Cunningham is a little bit more in the spotlight now, especially with the events and the public events, because those two murders that happened to Ernest Cunningham, they did make a bit of public news, so he is now in the spotlight a little bit more, and we get to see how that's going out for him. And there is going to be a fourth one in the series, which I'm excited for. Well, that's what I got anyway, because at the end of this one, the author said that he is going to be back in a big way. I do know there is going to be a TV show, but I don't think he's talking about that. I think there is going to be a fourth book, but I could be completely wrong. And it also talks about the Australian experience with summer and Christmas time and how stinking hot it can be. I should know. I'm living in Australia, it's December, it's summer, it's nearly Christmas time, it is really bloody hot, and it doesn't help that we're in a heat wave as well. I had such a fun time with this. I didn't care too much that it was a short book, just with the suspects, the victims, and even Ernest himself being in such close quarters. And pretty much there being nowhere to go, pretty much, where with the first and second one there was a bit more ground to cover, I guess you could say. Like, it didn't bother me too much. Had a good time with this. I gave it a 4 stars out of 5. On to another book that I feel like I can't talk too much about, and this has been taking over the internet that I've been seeing lately. It is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kleiwa, either Kleiwa or Kleiwa. It is about a young queer couple and they move into this old house and they flip houses. They are going to renovate this older house. This man shows up out of nowhere and says, "Hey, I used to live here." And he has his family in tow with him and he says, "Can I show my family around this house before we pretty much move to a different state?" Eve, who was there at the time, she's like the main character. Eve was there when this guy, his name is Thomas, when Thomas showed up at his doorstep, and she's kind of hesitant and her partner is nowhere to be seen, and she hesitates a little bit and then she decides, yeah, okay, if it's just going to be for like a little bit, a little while, like 15 minutes tops, yeah, sure, you can come in, you can show your family around the place. And then as soon as he steps foot with his family into the old house, things start getting very weird very quickly. I was pleasantly surprised about this book. I really loved it. It worked for me. Ever since reading this book back in November, I think it was? Yeah, back in November, I really have not stopped thinking about it. It has Morse code, which I don't think anyone realized that it has Morse code, and there are messages and clues hidden in some areas of the book, because in between the chapters we get this kind of multimedia formatting kind of thing, and in those chapters, in those multimedia formats, there's like some sort of clues hidden in those multimedia formattings. It was so fun trying to solve them. I loved it. It was so unique. I have heard people say that this is the scariest book that they have read. I don't see that. Like, it didn't scare me at all, but there was this one scene that did kind of have some creepy vibes going for it, that did kind of creep me out a little bit, but scary? No, not for me. It wasn't scary for me. This book talks a lot about internet conspiracies and internet theories, what is real, what is not, and you really get that a lot. That feeling of what is real, what isn't, was done very, very well. And another thing that was done quite well as well, another thing, was Eve's anxiety. And she does have a bit of character development with that, which was really, really nice to see. I gave this one a 5 stars, not a 4 stars. 5 stars will most likely make my best list because it personally worked for me. Oh, before I leave, that ending, I loved that ending a lot. It was just like my jaw on the floor. It was so freaking good. Another book that seems to be making its rounds is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. We follow our main character. Her father has recently divorced her mother and has left her sister and her mother, and even herself, quite upset and a little bit lost. And it takes a really bad mental toll on her mother, and her mother keeps telling her daughters to eat the eyes of the fish because they are the best part, they give you good luck, good fortune, and the elder sister ends up eating an eyeball from the fish, and weird things start happening. She kind of goes down like a mental spiral. And another thing that I'm forgetting, which I don't want to remember, but the mother ends up with a new boyfriend to get her mind off the fact that her husband just divorced her and left her. And the new boyfriend is one of the worst people I have ever read from. He is horrible. He looks at the two daughters like they're pieces of meat, and it's disgusting. He is a horrible, horrible person. Again, I enjoyed this book, not as much as everyone else seems to, but I still really, really enjoyed it. We get to see the slow mental decline of this main character and also of the other two characters of the other sister and the mother when the father leaves them, and how hard that is for them. And just the pressures that is put on the main character, especially, whose name I can't remember, main character, and how much pressure is put on her. Her being the eldest, because it's like pretty much tradition that the oldest one of the family has to take care of the family, so you see the pressures of that, and also the racism that they face, because like I said about the plot of the book, the new boyfriend of the mother is disgusting, and so is another guy. Another guy is disgusting in this book as well. But I actually think, the main character's name is oh my god, Ju-won? I'm not gonna say her name because I feel like I'm butchering it, but the main character, I think she might be gay. I do. It really gives that kind of impression because we see her have an interaction with another female character, and I got the vibes that she was gay. You do get a bit of flashbacks and a bit of backstory between the injustices of this family and how some families have more luck than others. And this main character really is not the best person because this main character did something pretty horrible to her friend group in the past. And just her anger, you really understand why she's having a bit of a mental decline because of her anger and how she wishes things could be better for her family. And it kind of seems like that her father leaving their family and her mother bringing on a new boyfriend was kind of like the final straw for her, and this mental decline was kind of like her snap moment, like she's just had enough, she's sick of everyone. And like I said, the pressure that is put on her to be successful so she can support her family, it is a bit of a heartbreaking novel, really, when you think about it. I'm kind of rambling around here, but seeing the backstory to get to the point of where she is in the present and going back and forth to the past, you really do get to see why she is becoming the way she's becoming, and just that slow mental mental decline. I'm gonna call it a mental decline, like a big breakdown. And there was one bit of a twist. Well, I don't want to say a bit of a twist, but one moment that really had my jaw on the floor, because I was like, oh my gosh, wow, I was not expecting that to happen. And I was really worried that that was going to ruin something, but it didn't, thank goodness. Thank goodness it didn't. And I enjoyed it. I will definitely be reading more from Monica Kim, and I gave this book a 4 stars. Lots of 4 stars this month. And the last book that I read, and one that I finally got around to reading, Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, a book I really, really love. This one follows Viv, who's an orc. She was in this battle, she gets injured in this battle, she gets sent to this little seaside village called Merk, where she's told to rest up and she will be back with her group, with her comrades. Yeah, with her comrades. So she's to rest up and they will come back and pick her up as soon as she is ready, as soon as she is healed. And oh my god, I fucking loved this book so much. Just like with Legends and Lattes, it has like the best, coziest feelings ever. This book is literally a love letter to bookshops, booksellers, what reading books can give you in terms of friendships and just entertainment. How books can touch someone, like the right book at the right time, how it can touch someone and you can see yourself in that book, and the friendships you make. Like, it's pretty much a love letter to the book community that you see on BookTube, BookTok, Bookstagram, and it's like the best feelings. And of course there's a bakery. Of course there's a bakery. There has to be a bakery. Those bakery warm bakery fuzzy feelings I just loved. It does have some high fantasy elements, which I was eating up as well. Like, I think the high fantasy elements were better in this one than in Legends and Lattes. And Legends and Lattes was a little bit lower in the higher fantasy, like the big bad kind of thing. But this one had a little bit more, like, just my opinion. And what else can I say about this? Oh yes, the community. It's a love letter to the bookish community and the community that you make with people who love books as much as you do. And I love it. And we do get to see what happens at the end of Legends and Lattes. There's like an epilogue, like years after, this is what's happened kind of thing. And I think that is going to give us a little bit of an idea of what the 3rd book is going to be. That's just my hopes and dreams, honestly. Freaking loved it so much. Those are the books, these 2, and also the other 3 that I just talked about that were my ebooks. And it was overall a very, very good month. And now I've got a lot of catching up to do so I don't fail my Goodreads reading goal. So with that being said, I will let you go. Did you read any of these books? Did you enjoy them? Do you have any recommendations for me? And I will see you in another video. Bye for now.